So I think our schedule is going to work out pretty well. What we're walking into is we're actually walking into a video shoot for this bike and race team testing. And you guys will have the only two videos like at the track of this bike. This is an extremely limited edition motorcycle. There will only be 131 of them made.
Oh wow. So we're heading out for this big Harley-Davidson reveal. And real talk, yesterday was Super Bowl. We had a party at my house, and I have the absolute worst hangover I've probably ever had right now. Already thrown up about 6 times this morning, trying to eat this thing right here. But we're gonna go out to an undisclosed area to go meet with Harley-Davidson to be the first ones in the world to get to video and check out this very limited, very special, very classified Harley-Davidson that's going to be coming out and being released to the public, and we get to see it first. And I feel like shit. Let's go. Took a little bit of a nap. I'm alive. Morning, good morning.
How we doing? Good, man.
That thing is a fucking weapon.
Well, Matt, Harley-Davidson, we just got done checking out the new bike. We're gonna go watch it on the track. Let's do it, let's go. He was factory racer last year. Him and Kyle were the factory racers, and then he's going to be doing it this year as well, but also doing some other racing. I think he's going to do Super Hooligan.
Wow. We're here at the track. You know who I am, you know where we're at, you know who we're dealing with. This is a big announcement. This is a big honor for us to be able to come out here and kind of be one of the first people to get to see this. And I'm super stoked about it. It's an actual race bike. This is the new CVO. We've got a superstar in the racing world right here to give us a little walk around about it. If you haven't been following him, you should. This is Kyle Wyman. He is a motherfucking savage. He's gonna give us a little bit of a lowdown, and then I'm gonna nerd out on this a little bit, because there's a bunch of stuff on this bike that Harley-Davidson has never really put out before on a level they've never put out before. So who are you? What do you do?
Yeah,
tell the
Kyle
people
Wyman,
that aren't paying attention.
Race for factory Harley-Davidson. King of the Baggers series, starting our 5th season. And already 5 years we're going, King of the Baggers.
And dominating quite nicely.
We're doing pretty well. But the really cool part about what we do on the racetrack is what it does for production.
Yes.
And today we've got the most special bike that Harley-Davidson has ever put out to the public. It's the 2025 CVO Road Glide RR. And RR stands for Race Replica. We touched every component on this bike: weight savings, power, published 153 horsepower, 150 foot-pounds of torque.
On pump gas with a catalytic converter.
Yep, full emissions, meets sound, street legal. Carbon fiber everywhere, and billet parts everywhere. We've got very race-inspired one-piece CNC aluminum swing arm that was designed for our race bikes. CNC triple clamps, all-in suspension, front and rear. Those are the forks we run on the race bike, the brakes, rotors, calipers from Brembo, a Krapovich titanium exhaust. I mean, you literally could not ask for anything more.
This is the suspension you run on the race bike. Is the valving and stuff the same, or are they setting it up a little different?
No, it's a little bit different. The settings are different. The amount of forces we generate on the race bike,
a little extreme.
It would be pretty stiff for the street.
You run stiff on a race bike, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, really stiff.
Triple trees, they're all billet.
Yep.
You guys are making them exclusive for this bike. This front end is also available in the P&A catalog, correct?
Yes.
Is the rake and trail the same as the factory Road Glide, or have you changed that?
That's a good question for Jason, but I believe it does match the same geometry as a standard Road Glide or CVO Road Glide ST, for example.
Okay.
But the forks different stiffnesses, right? Triple clamps, different stiffnesses, all a little bit stiffened up from the standard Road Glide, just so you have that extra support when you're taking this to a more aggressive
Suspension's
riding.
taller, I see as well.
Yep, quite a bit taller. With this exhaust from a Akrapovic, the mid controls, and the bike being a little bit taller, we've been able to get a lot more lean angle.
I can't believe there's a Harley-Davidson with I can't pronounce that, Akrapovic.
Yeah.
I always called it Akrapovic back in the day, but
Yep.
I ran it on sport bikes for years. It was always my favorite. That is the exhaust in
They
the
are the
racing
gold
world.
standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hands down. And fully titanium. Carbon heat shields alone. The H pipe right here, like on a V8, that was one of the first things I noticed. Also, one of the first things I noticed is these foot controls right here. They're not available yet, but I think if you guys go beat on Harley-Davidson's door hard enough, we could possibly have these out to the world. So I want them, so go knock on their door a whole bunch just so I can get them at least. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, we're only going to make 131 of these bikes, but we hope that the demand is such that people can start to buy some of these components.
So why the number 131?
Just to match that 131 cubic inch engine in there.
Holy shit, I haven't got to see this side yet. Look at the primary. Dude, that primary is
So
sick.
full billet primary cover.
Everything's safety wired too. All the hardware's drilled for safety wire. The hardware on this bike alone is probably my Dyna. And she's a belt. You run a belt on the race bike?
No, we run chain on the race bike, but we wanted to maintain, getting this bike out to the public, right, was, to do something this quickly,
Yeah.
was a big challenge.
And most of the public doesn't want to deal with servicing a chain and all that
No,
stuff.
they really don't. These belts are rated for that.
But that's not just the standard 131. It's a little hopped up on.
Right, so we've done some work on the top end. The learnings from the race team have allowed us to, find little things here and there.
Yeah.
But it's essentially the Stage 4 kit.
Oh my God, I want these. This needs to be available.
Yeah,
That is the nicest mid-control setup I've seen on a bagger,
You can still
hands
see
down.
on the casing, where the old shifter goes through. This gives you a much more direct connection, gives you a few less failure points, potential failure points. What we've done on the race bike to make things simpler all translates over to this bike.
Best part about it too is this mid-control setup is mounted to the frame, not the drivetrain. So if you're gonna put some miles down on this, you're not getting your feet shaken to death. Like you get itchy feet, and you get all that vibration from the Harley motor.
Yeah.
And this isn't gonna do that. Most of the mid-control bolt-on setups out there for aftermarket, they all bolt to the drivetrain, which for racing it would be fine, but if you're gonna go ride to Sedona or something for the weekend, your feet are gonna itch like a bastard because it's shaking you so much. It puts oxygen in your blood.
On the race bike, you see our primary cover where the peg is mounted. It's actually part of the casing, and it's about here.
Yeah.
My feet are mounted directly to that engine.
Yeah,
so
and you feel that thing shaking. You got a big nasty motor in there too.
Yeah.
Everything. This is carbon fiber.
Yep.
Carbon fiber rear fender. Carbon fiber bags. Woohoo! Look at this. Dude, that thing weighs nothing.
You take the bag off, and it's like
Nothing.
yeah.
Carbon fiber with Kevlar laid in with it as well, correct?
Yeah, so we leaned on some of our partners in the NASCAR space because like all the Cup cars have carbon, Kevlar, carbon layering for safety. So in order to produce a street legal bike that can be made out of carbon fiber, we had to really elevate the structural integrity of it.
So it doesn't splinter? Does
Yep.
it stop it from...
Right, exactly.
Does it have more flex with the Kevlar?
No, it's
No?
actually, it's really stiff, yeah.
That's basically the ST kind of riser setup and bars.
Yes.
Looks quite similar.
Yeah, very similar to the ST, and this is where you're going to get your serial numbering. All right, we've got 0 of 131, obviously as pre-production.
This is the one that's worth the money right
Yeah,
here.
right. Yeah.
So it's an expensive bike.
Yeah.
No bullshit aside, this is an expensive bike. If you were to come to us and have me build this bike for you, you'd probably be in the over $100,000, $150,000 range to build this with labor, parts alone, just in the carbon and all that stuff alone. That primary, the swing arm, is machined from a solid piece of aluminum. It said a 250-pound block of aluminum they machined down to a solid swing arm. There's no bolts, no welding, none of that shit in it. That's probably the most expensive swing arm in the entire world, if I had to imagine right there.
It's up there for
It
sure.
is impressive.
Yeah.
What's retail on this?
And we're at 110, I believe.
110. We'll say it's 110. So this isn't your everyday kind of just go out and buy it Harley. This is 131 of them. This is also a badass bike to ride, but this could be a bike that you could put in a bubble in your garage for 5 years and then make a bunch of money off of it.
I think that
this is like a Babe Ruth collector card right here.
Yeah, like these, I think we expect to probably see a lot of these, you know, in conference rooms and living rooms around the country, you know, like very exclusive bike, only 131 of them, something special for sure.
It's less of a we're trying to sell a bunch of these bikes point. It's more of a we're trying to put these parts to market and see what people think about the aftermarket, because Harley is stepping into the aftermarket finally. They're coming out with some hot shit finally. Like Öhlins, you guys have Öhlins front ends. That swing arm back there, all these carbon parts. Like if we knock on their door hard enough, these parts will come available to the rest of us. And that's what I'm after right here. And good job, boys. That's a Saddleman. Harley-Davidson works with Saddleman because they are the best. Yeah, she's bad. What else can you tell me?
You know, we've got a racing transmission now.
What's the difference?
So it's strengthened to basically be able to handle the racing conditions of the torque of the motor on this side. And it also improved the shift quality. So this motor specifically, and this is just one example of how what we do over here on the race bike starts trickling down into production, hopefully into all production motorcycles, but this is a really good start.
Gear ratio still the same?
Yes, as the ST.
Okay, the gear ratio is different in the ST than the regular model?
I believe so, yeah.
I did not know that either.
Yeah. Jason, he keeps asking me questions I don't know the answer to.
All right, we're bringing in the technical side. We're going to nerd out a little bit. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Jason Kale, Director of Racing for Harley-Davidson.
That's quite the title. Hell yes. I'm gonna start with the transmission. Gear ratio, is it the same as your
new
standard?
Screaming Eagle King 6 transmission, they call it, yes.
King 6.
King, because it's top of the line, but also king of the baggers, right? So it is the transmission that we developed per Kyle's specifications coming out of Daytona race in 2022. We had some issues on the bike, and it was all related to staying in gear and having a quality, you know, heavy-duty transmission that was also shifted clean and was reliable. So we went back and used all the resources of Harley-Davidson in terms of our design capabilities and our manufacturing capabilities. We build every transmission just up the road in Milwaukee at our powertrain operations facility. So we were able to lean into those resources and develop the race transmission, which were at that time were all hand cut in the tool room, you know, with special tools. But now we've brought it to a place where we've bought production tools and we're able to make it in the same facility with the same specifications. So a new heat treat procedure for those gears that allow it to be a lot more durable and handle the torque load that we have on the race bike as well as this bike. We work within the envelope for the race team. We cannot change gear ratios, so the gear ratios are the same. The dogs are cut at a higher back angle to keep engagement, and even in a partial engagement scenario, they actually close and suck into each other, but then stay in gear. Certainly the gears, again, the heat treat procedure is completely different. One of the things that we can do as the OEM is heat treat them in the green, we call it, as opposed to an aftermarket company that has to cut a gear and then cut away the case hardness of the gears themselves. We're able to do it from the raw material, which gives it that increased strength, and then they're all shot peened as well. Custom shim to remove some of the slop from it.
From stunt riding, you know, you're banging gears all the time. When you blow a transmission up, you're never really blowing gears out, you're bending a dog normally.
Yes.
And then it doesn't engage the gear into the next gear all the way, and then you shear a gear from there. So a stronger dog is basically the
stronger
key
dog
component
and
for
steeper
sure.
angle to stay engaged and handle the torque.
Swing arm, it's a monster. Is the geometry all the same as a regular swing arm?
No, but it fits an OE bike.
Yeah?
Yeah. Shock points are in the same location, as well as the overall swing arm length is pretty similar. What's really unique about this one is we took the exact same process that we used to develop the racing swing arm, which is we have something called topology optimization, which is a subset of computer-aided design, which you can take a block of material, you can give it boundary conditions, you can say this is the envelope to work in, you add loads to it, you add resultant stiffnesses and performance that you want on it, and you press go on the computer. It does millions and millions of cycles and it just starts eating away material.
Damn.
That's how we end up with this really organic shape, because organic shapes in nature have evolved that way over time to be very efficient and strong, and that's what we get out of that optimization procedure. But it's allowed us to create a 10% stiffer and 10% lighter swing arm than the OE swing arm, account for the additional height of the motorcycle, and to achieve that in production, we cut it out of one piece. So it is a one-piece billet swing arm.
That is impressive.
It's 220 pounds raw material when it starts. It cuts down to 18 pounds It takes,
Jesus.
we've got it all the way down from about 20 hours, reduced it to 3 operations, and we cut them in about 12 and a half hours.
A 220-pound block of aluminum is an expensive piece of material.
It's expensive process, but everything we wanted to do on this bike was no
Yes.
compromises in terms of performance.
This is the Ferrari of Harley-Davidsons right here.
Absolutely.
So let's say pivot shaft to axle point, is it still the same?
It's very similar. The geometry is slightly different because the bike is 2 inches taller than stock.
It's gonna bring
but
it
the
in.
overall length is the same. It changes geometry when you raise the bike a bit.
So there lies another story. Usually when you go 2 inches in the rear on the baggers, you end up with rubbing, on the primary. You have to clearance the primaries a lot of time with chains. So is that different inside? How did you tackle that?
A lot of our interference envelope is associated with the 2 and the 1 and the 2 exhaust when you have the cross under pipe underneath. That's why we had to design, specifically
Gotcha.
a 2 and a 1 system to keep the exhaust all the way on the right side of the motorcycle. And then we designed the envelope such that it does not have interference when we raise that 2 inches. I know a lot of people try to go a lot higher. You get into even some crazier
Yeah.
geometries when we go there. But 2 inches was a very good performance, easily attainable, controllable motorcycle.
How tall is the rear shock then overall? Is it a 15 or a 14?
Spec sheet.
Spec sheet.
Swedlin.
So total shock length in the rear is 14 inches.
Okay.
Okay, 14.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. Is axle to axle we same wheelbase?
Yes.
Rake and trail in the trees, has that changed?
The overall rake and trail changes slightly because of the additional height of the motorcycle, but the angles are the same. From a suspension standpoint, the other thing we did was, tune specifically with Öhlins for, the front forks, for instance, are the race bike front forks. I mean, literally, they're the Öhlins FGR 253s straight off the race bike, tuned specifically for this weight of motorcycle and riding style, but it is the exact same forks that come off the race bike.
Full stereo, full luxury, Rockford Fosgate, it looks like, very fancy.
Rockford Fosgate did these speakers specifically for this project, so they're new Stage 3 speakers that we actually just launched in January, but it's a top-of-the-line premium tuned specifically for here. Even the inlay on the speaker grill you'll see is a little touch of orange made to match this component. But Rockford Fosgate, premium, awesome supplier to Harley-Davidson, awesome partner to us, awesome partner to the race team, and we wanted to give it the highest performance audio without adding a bunch of weight elsewhere in the bike, so it's that compromise.
What's the weight difference between this and the standard Road Glide?
So this is 45 pounds lighter than the lightest Road Glide that we've ever had, which is currently the CVO ST. 755 pounds.
That is light.
Ready to ride, no fuel. So even full tank of fuel, it's under 800 pounds.
That's really good.
794 pounds, I think.
It would definitely clutch a wheelie, huh? I'd hate to drag that fancy license plate, but oh, I want to ride this thing so bad.
The lowest weight Road Glide ever combined with the most powerful motorcycle Harley-Davidson that's ever delivered, the power to weight ratio is really fun. That allowed us to really lean into the ride modes as well. So I think what you'll find in this bike is that, rain mode is a lot of power and torque, right? 150 foot-pounds of torque as well as 153 horsepower. Tuning that down in rain mode to really be able to control in a true wet environment, but then be able to use road and sport and track to really give it a very different character feel. Track mode, full power, unlimited, up high in the RPM range is where you want to go from, 4,000 to the
VVT?
red line of 6,500 RPM. It is not VVT.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's the approach that we've taken with a lot of the Screaming Eagle components in powertrain development. VVT allows you to balance performance at really low versus really high RPM, kind of even it out. We're focused on that high performance, higher in the rev range, which is a fixed cam, is just simplifies.
Well, where's power
performance
coming on in
aspect of
this?
3,500 RPM all the way up to, peak power is 5,750 RPM, and then red line at 6,500. So
6,500?
yeah.
That's high for a Harley-Davidson. Which race bike at?
7,000.
Seriously? Yeah. That is whipping a V-twin.
Yeah, on a 4.5-inch stroke, 7,000 RPM. That's pretty high piston speed. We're actually higher piston speed than NASCAR and about as high as Formula One.
Wow. Can you say how much power the race bike makes, or is that a secret?
More than this bike, but no.
More than this shitloads horsepower and shitloads foot-pounds?
Yes. Lots.
Yes, more than this bike. That's beautiful. The wheels, are they anything fancy? They look like the Prodigy wheels.
They are our highest performing, lowest weight wheel currently in our production lineup, which is the base for the CVO ST wheel.
It's beautiful. She's water-cooled. I love that. I know that people aren't stoked about water-cooled Harley-Davidson sometimes, but when you live in Arizona, water-cooled motorcycle, money. I have a 24 Street Glide that makes 202 horsepower, and I can ride it in 100+ degrees, and it does not cook my leg. I wish I should have put it in rain mode when we rode to Texas, and I rode 4 hours through the pouring rain on a 200 horsepower motorcycle, That was not a good time, I'm going to tell you right now.
So this is the 131 powertrain. It has the most recent updates in terms of the Milwaukee-Eight configuration, which has the targeted water cooling within the heads. The motor does still rely heavily on air cooling, however, so the entire fin pack and heads get a lot of cooling from air. And it's not only the reliability and durability of it, but it's, for our perspective, to have the street legal motorcycle, it's the emissions compliance, right?
Yes.
Keeping temperatures down, the ability to make, again, the most powerful motorcycle Harley's ever offered in a street legal package. To do that, right, that additional cooling of the heads is critical.
What's the compression on this motor?
So it's 11-to-1.
That's pretty impressive.
But we still rely, heavily on the air cooling, and you can see even that design is incorporated here on the left side of the primary cover. One of the biggest, probably the hottest area on our race bike now is inside the primary.
Really?
And so even those cooling fins, machined into the cover of the primary help remove just that little bit more heat to keep that cool and improve not only efficiency, but your clutch life and durability.
Is that primary available for people to buy? Is that something that's at
Not
market?
at this time.
Is it going to be at market? Because that is a badass primary. That should be at market.
One of the things that this project has allowed us to do is push product development into spaces that we were maybe too scared or too nervous to go before.
Yeah.
And I hope that when this bike is received and people understand really the detail and the product development and the quality and performance behind every part of this motorcycle, that they'll be asking for it and begging for it, and we can push us into individual components where we haven't been before. I'll say it that way.
Go knock on their door. I want that primary. I want those foot controls. That is the nicest. We were talking about, like, that needs to be available. Those foot controls need to be available. There has never been a mid-control setup for Harley-Davidson aftermarket that has looked that quality right there. It reminds me a lot of the Fat Bob bolt-on setup. Those are fantastic, and that does look like a much fancier version of that.
I'm glad you're pointing that out. Thanks for it, right? I mean, when we started designing this bike, it was performance first, quality next. I mean, how do we maintain that absolute performance and design something that's truly functional and high performance, and then we'll figure out how to manufacture it and how to make it at a reasonable cost.
Yeah, those don't look cheap.
They are not cheap, but you look at the design of the shifter arm itself, it is the exact same design that we have on the race bike. The way that it pivots there, all of those components are taken from those learnings to here. If you touch them, you'll see there's a lot less slop in any normal shifting system. It gives you that really clean shift, both up and down.
Yeah.
Every time you go to grab a gear, it's there.
Is it on a bushing or a bearing?
Bearing, yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Double bearing, press fit into that pivot there. Yeah, those foot pegs actually we just launched as a performance foot peg, so that collection is available across
I like those a lot.
Harley-Davidson, right? We designed them to that standard clevis so that we could use that premium piece that we had designed, but as well as you have the options to change them out if you want. We're talking a lot about the left side of the motorcycle, the primary cover and the shifter. One of the things that you don't see is the clutch basket inside of it.
Oh yeah, is it different too?
Absolutely. So we have a Harley-Davidson.
Absolutely, he says, hell yes.
It's designed specifically for the race team. That exact clutch basket is in this motorcycle now.
Really?
It's a 70-75 aluminum, machined from a full billet piece, actually in Wisconsin, just up the road from Harley's headquarters. And then it has a United States military spec anodized hard finish. So you have the hardest strength aluminum as well as the hardest anodized finish we can put on it to take the abuse that Kyle will throw at it. But I think you'll find it's the most premium basket on the market at this point.
Is it a slipper clutch setup as well?
It is the OE clutch, so it's a slip and a slit clutch.
Yeah.
But that is the same clutch that we race on. From a wear perspective,
Stock clutch, really?
This basket,
Different clutch springs?
that's what we race on.
You got more clutch.
1,200 Newton meters, Screaming Eagle springs.
Really?
Yeah, it's not that crazy.
My bike that makes 202, I ran a stock clutch in it for a long time. I didn't even put springs in it.
Yeah.
And it held that power. I did cook it recently, but to
Well,
be
how
expected.
hot do you get it? How much do you? You're slipping it with the left hand.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, I beat the piss out of it, but it lasted a long time. I was very, very impressed, and it felt phenomenal as well. It's still the auto adjust clutch cable, all that stuff.
Yes.
I love that as well. I just switched my 05 Dyna over to that. Wow, so is that clutch basket and everything available for people to buy aftermarket?
Stay tuned for that one. I will say it's a little different response, right? But stay tuned for that one.
Stay tuned. Let's go. Okay, so let's talk about all the carbon fiber. When's that going to be available for people to buy aftermarket?
Well, the carbon fiber has taken a lot to develop. Certainly, we've developed it for that motorcycle. We'll see where we go from here. But one of the things that's really unique about some of the carbon fiber on this bike in terms of the saddlebags, the lids, and the outer fairing itself. Those are the largest pieces, but they're also the ones that are subject to any type of impact if there is any unfortunate condition associated with the motorcycle. So we went to a supplier that provides we call it the greenhouse, for a NASCAR. You know, the roof and side pillars that come down and protect a NASCAR
really?
in the event of an accident.
Gotcha.
So they developed the process and the layup schedule for the carbon on those components in particular, which includes a Kevlar weave inside the carbon fiber. So there's carbon, Kevlar, carbon fiber. There's an extreme strength to weight ratio, but as well provides that safety.
So that bag, if this bike goes down, that bag is going to take it pretty well.
It's surprising how well the bags take it in a crash environment.
Been down a few times?
I still wouldn't want
No?
to. The single most expensive component in one piece on this motorcycle is that painted outer fairing. So
I love the OG Screaming Eagle paint scheme on it. Like the first CVO, we talked about that earlier, was the orange and black with the eagle down the side. Like it couldn't have been any other way. You know, it had to be that. That is awesome. One of my favorite paint jobs too is the OG eagle on it.
well, if we think back to, you know, how this bike started and how the race team started, it was the Screaming Eagle team volunteering their nights and weekends because they said, we got to do this. It's really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we have factory on the side of our bike now. We have people at the motor company with racing in their title that didn't exist 4 years ago. The amount of growth that's come through is awesome, but you know, Screaming Eagle components tip to tail, being the performance organization of Harley-Davidson and leaning into the factory resources that we have and branding ourselves as a factory team. There is no more true factory effort in North America than what Harley-Davidson is doing right now in this racing class. And it's just awesome to be a part of it and see the growth that we've had over the few years, what this motorcycle has come, and you know, where we can go from here.
It's great to see Harley making these moves too, because you guys racing, him racing, you're developing all this new stuff that we get a piece of, you know.
Yeah.
When you guys start making all this stuff, it's going to be awesome. And this is a move I think Harley needed to make over the last years to get, you know, bring the excitement back. This also brings a younger crowd into it, you know, like bring that younger generation in, keep things moving. It's a good step. It is an awesome platform. Like I can't ride it because it's expensive, but man, I want to ride that motherfucker real bad. She is nasty.
Well, if you look at some of the components, like if we go back to the swing arm, we can never spend 12 and a half hours to machine one swing arm. And, you know, to do it for this bike, we have to collect all the recyclable material and get a credit back for, I mean, it's an expensive way to do something, but that wasn't the point. The point was, we want a lighter swing arm, we want a stiffer swing arm, we want a performance swing arm. How can we do it? Let's prove that we can do it in a package and present enough to a customer that's going to appreciate that level of detail that's gone into it and push the production product to think even further.
Is this a swing arm that's on your bike, race bike?
Not exactly.
A little different geometry?
Yeah, ours is a little bit different. You see, we have like the idler, and our bike is so tall that the angles are a little bit different. But
Yeah.
you know, we maintain the shock mounting positions. We maintain pivot, everything on the race bike because that's the rules. We have to as well.
Yeah, you have to have stock shock mounts. Frame can't be altered.
Correct.
All that stuff. Correct. Yep. What's the weight limit on the race bike?
620 pounds.
620.
Yeah.
Wow.
620 pounds minimum at any point, right? So anytime the bike comes off the track, it has to be more than 620. Of course,
Fuel
we're
and
always
everything.
trying to be, with whatever fuel's remaining at the end of that session, you have to be over 620.
No shit. So at the end, you have to have enough fuel to keep you overweight when you get done
I mean,
racing.
it's not
too extreme.
We don't
but
cut it that close.
It's a Harley-Davidson. To get it to 620 takes some effort. So.
yeah. Oh, I bet. I see the thumb brake. You run a thumb brake?
I do.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's also something you could sell to the stunt riding community. More parts, more aftermarket parts from Harley-Davidson. Go knock on their door. It's up to you guys to make them make this stuff so I can have it. I want to run this stuff. I'm being selfish, let's be honest. You know, look at that. I want those controls.
KRUESI's interviewing for the product planning manager position at Harley right now.
That's right. Let's go. Let's sell some parts. Let's get it going. I want that shit. I know you guys want that. And the only way it's going to happen is if you go beat on their door. Start emailing them, start bugging them, start knocking on their Instagram, do everything you can to pressure them into making these parts for us. That's how it all works. We work together, we make it happen. Thank you guys very much. You got anything else?
I can't wait to ride it myself.
You haven't got to ride it yet?
Tomorrow.
Yeah?
Tomorrow, first ride.
Oh, I would like to see that. You get it on the track?
Right here.
Yeah?
Right here at Podium Club.
You got to put it down or what?
Put it down.
Like get down to business?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's what this thing's made for.
Yeah, he says, oh yeah, you got to get down to business.
And we're gonna shoot that for YouTube.
Well-
On my YouTube, so come out the same day as this video, so you should be able to go see it right now.
He does have a YouTube. This is Kyle Wyman?
Yep.
Yep, go check it out. Absolute killer. If you haven't been following the racing scene, you have been the dominant force in the bagger racing for sure. Absolutely killing it. Honor to meet you. Thank you very, very much for this. thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for nerding out with me. I love it.
Anytime. It's good to meet you in person.
I definitely love the technical side of things, and I love what you guys have done with this bike. And I love the fake license plate you have on there. The license plate is 1903. That is just a dope touch right there.
Yeah, I mean, we love to lean into the 1903, obviously, 122 consecutive years in business, this being the most powerful motorcycle. But 1914 is another number that we talk a lot about on the racing program. 1914 is the first year Harley-Davidson had a factory racing organization inside the company. When we talk about racing and Harley, we've been doing it for a long time. It's looked very different, from board track to flat track to NHRA to Superbike program to now, King of the Baggers. But racing has been core to our brand, and to see, how we can use that to push ourselves as product development, push ourselves as a culture and organization, and be willing to go out there and fight for wins, and ultimately inspire incredible product that just makes the production product as good as it can be and desirable as it can be to everybody out there as well. So
racing definitely breeds innovation when it comes to making stuff, for sure. Like, we raced Bagger Race League ourselves, and our little shop came out and dominated quite hard, and they didn't expect it. Our bike was probably 7 different bikes in 3 months. This track wasn't around then, so this is the only track that will let you have a Harley-Davidson on it in Arizona. So we were driving to New Mexico once a week, testing out there, and then driving back, working on the bike 17 hours a day, getting down to business. And
whatever it takes, right? It's racing.
Yeah, exactly. Racing's racing, for sure. And it was awesome, and it made us. We created a whole bunch of new parts out of that alone. Just
absolutely, yeah.
the need for what we needed. We had to make new stuff and develop new stuff and change the bike, and it was awesome. And I want those foot controls. Go get after them. Imagine them on the street glide. Woo! I could hook my foot on that and get down to business. Hell yes. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
you. Yeah. Hell yes. Thank you very much.